I hereby call the special meeting of the Brockton City Council for Thursday, July 16th, 2020, 7 p.m. to order. Please stand and join me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilor Ianieri.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to take a moment, if I could. As we all know, councilors, we lost a very, very important person in the city over the weekend, a very strong advocate and educator for the Brockton Public Schools, and Mr. Brian Rogan, who for many, many years was the principal at the John F. Kennedy School. I had the great honor of meeting him some many years ago when he first came into the system, when I was just new as a school committee member, and he was at the resource program room at the George S. Payne School under, then was Charlie Crivellaro as the principal of that school, and then he went on naturally to go on to the John F. Kennedy School and be a teacher there, and then became the assistant principal in 1994, and in 2008 he became the principal. I do have to say that, you know, his loss is a very, very great loss to this city, to this community, of course, to the children of that school, the staff, and the teachers within every school system here in the city of Brockton. There wasn't a time when you didn't see Brian with not a smile on his face, and if he was having a bad day, you never knew that, because that wasn't the type of person that he was. And I think it's just, I think it's touched us all in these last few days to recall just what type of person he was, and then to think of, you know, what we're going to be doing for the future of the children of this city and of this state and even of this country, and as we start to go into the fall season when everybody look forward to the first day of school. I think Brian was probably still, you know, mystery in his facts that he wished he was still at work every single day, because that's the type of guy that Brian was. And I do have to say that, you know, Brian was, again, he took the school, the John F. Kennedy School, and not only did he make it what it is today, but he just let everybody feel and have the feeling that John F. Kennedy himself even went to that school. He was strong on the history of how that school got named, and every year had a ceremony for President Kennedy's birthday, and a few years ago just had the 100th birthday as well of John F. Kennedy. So I just wanted to make mention of those nice tribute to him, and he being in that neighborhood and in the ward there for a long, long time. I just want us to, now if we could take a couple of minutes of moments of silence and remember a good principal, Brian Rogan. Thank you, Madam President, and may he rest in peace.
Amen. May he rest in peace. I actually knew Mr. Rogan as a parent and as an elected official, and he, even though he wasn't a Brockton resident, he will be truly missed. And I know that the superintendent and school committee will have an event to honor him in one way or another at the Kennedy School and in the city of Brockton. He was really a dedicated educator, and he was a gift to Brockton. So we were lucky to have him. So God rest his soul. Thank you again, Counselor.
Thank you.
So this evening's meeting is being held in accordance with Governor Charlie Baker's signed open meeting law order dated March 12, 2020, which relieves the public body from the requirement of Section 20 of Chapter 30A that it conduct its meetings in a public place that is open and physically accessible to the public, provided that the public body makes provision to ensure public access to the deliberations of the public body for interested members of the public through adequate alternative means. This evening, we are following all COVID-19 guidelines set by the state and the Board of Health. We have, as you see, we're here in council chambers. City Hall is open to the public, and we have everything in place to make sure that everybody's health and safety is our number one priority. We have a member from our building department, our custodian, that is making sure that the podium where our guests come before us is wiped down after each applicant, and anybody that's here that comes before us. We also have certain guidelines. You need to have a face mask on, and you need to practice social distancing while you're in City Hall. We have police officers that are here to enforce that. At the same time, we can only have one applicant, so an applicant with their attorney or whoever is with the applicant can come into council chambers, present at the podium, and once they've answered the counselor's questions, they need to just step back out into the hall, and if there are anybody that wants to speak in favor or in opposition, they would need to just come in at the time, make their statements, and then step back out in the hall. We have installed 2 large-screen televisions so they can be viewed from the hall, no matter where somebody is in there, so they can follow what's going on inside council chambers. With that being said, I would just like to comment that this evening's special meeting is a public hearing for recreational marijuana applications. They are to be heard before us this evening, and after each application, the councils will be voting on the applications. But with that being said, Attorney
Madam
Resnick, would you...
President? Excuse me for interrupting. May I offer a motion?
I haven't really, sure. I mean, I am going to have Attorney Resnick just read a brief of what's before us this evening, a little bit of the ordinance. Was this regarding what I've said, or?
No, this is regarding a hearing to be continued.
So as soon as we open up, just kind of give a brief overview to the residents at home of what this meeting's about. So Attorney Resnick.
I'm going to read 3 different sections of the ordinance. Application requirements, new applicants. An applicant in any category of marijuana establishment shall file, in a form and manner specified by the Brockton City Council, an application for licensure as a marijuana establishment in the city of Brockton. The application shall consist of 4 packets: a copy of the Cannabis Control Commission, CCC, application of intent packet, a copy of the CCC Management and Operations Profile Packet, a copy of CCC Background Check Application and Confirmation, and a copy of the Community Host Agreement. The application shall also include any application for site plan review and/or a special permit as required under Brockton Zoning Ordinance Section 27-24.4, Adult Use of Marijuana. The application shall also include certification of site plan approval, all license categories, and a special permit for marijuana retail operations only. The applicant may file individual packets separately or as a whole. The application will not be considered to be complete until the city clerk's office determines each individual packet is incomplete and notifies the applicant that each packet is complete. The application shall include the requisite non-refundable application fee and 15 copies of all documents submitted. Part 2, additional requirements. Particular types of marijuana establishments that require additional specific requirements to be submitted to the CCC pursuant to 935 CMR 500.101 shall also be submitted to the Brockton City Council. Action on applications. Part 1, action on each packet. The Brockton City Council shall grant licenses with the goal of ensuring that the needs of the Commonwealth and the City of Brockton are met with regard to access, quality, and community safety. A, packets comprising the license applications shall be evaluated based on the applicant's demonstrated compliance with the laws and regulations of the Commonwealth, demonstrated compliance with this ordinance or any City of Brockton order or city ordinance. 3, suitability for licensure based on the provisions of 935 CMR 500.101, Part 1, 500.800, and 500.801, and 4, evaluation of the thoroughness of the applicant's response to the required criteria. The Brockton City Council shall consider each packet submitted by an applicant on a rolling basis. The last section that I'm going to read is marijuana establishments ground for denial of initial application for license. Each of the following, in and of itself, constitutes full and adequate grounds for denying an initial application for a marijuana license. 1, information provided by the applicant was misleading, incorrect, false, or fraudulent. 2, the applicant indicates an inability to maintain and operate a marijuana establishment in compliance with the requirements of the Act, 1935 CMR 500.105 and 935 CMR 500.110, based on the submission of information required by 935 CMR 500.101, Parts 1 and 2, or this ordinance. 3, the applicant has been determined to be either not suitable pursuant to any one or more of the factors listed in 935 CMR 500.800 and 500.801, or this ordinance. 4, the applicant failed to complete the application process within the time required by the Brockton City Council. 5, members of the executive of the marijuana establishments were members or executives of a marijuana establishment that had its license revoked or denied renewal in the Commonwealth or another jurisdiction. 6, the applicant does not have provisional or final approval of its license by the CCC. Or 7, any other grounds that serves the purposes of the Act or 935 CMR 500, this ordinance, the host agreement, the license, any City of Brockton order or city ordinance.
Thank you, Attorney Resnick. Okay, Mr. Clerk, number 1,
We have the call of the meeting.
accepted and placed on file.
We have the officer's return of notice.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have the grant-
Before we continue, Counselor Farwell, you,
Madam President, applicant number 6 on our agenda, I've spoken with legal counsel and for the applicant. There are additional materials that need to be submitted, and as such, I would move to continue this hearing for item number 6 to the 27th of July at our next city council meeting.
Second.
a motion's
Hearing's
been,
not open yet, is it?
well, that's, right, so,
Through you to our clerk, we can't postpone it until
We
it's
hear it.
open, is it?
We could do it to a post. Take a motion, take it out of order, and then move it.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we're doing it right.
yes, yep.
You're right, I would move to take this out of order. My apologies, colleague.
Second.
So a motion's been made to take number 6 out of order and properly seconded. All those in favor of taking number 6 out of order? All those opposed? Number 6 is being taken out of order, that passed. So now you,
You've heard the motion, and I just reiterate it.
okay, so
Continue to July 27th.
but we still need to open the hearing.
Open the hearing and then
Right.
continue the hearing.
So we'll, so we still have to open the hearing and hear them, and yes?
Yes.
Is
Correct?
that correct, Attorney Resnick? How, do we still have to open the hearing and hear the applicant?
No, not now, not if you put,
Oh, okay. Okay, so a motion's been made to,
On the motion, Madam.
Counselor Rodriguez.
Madam President, I'm basically going to vote against this because I've gone through some of these applications and there's some things missing on every single one of them. If we're going to continue this particular one, then we should continue all of them. So I am going to vote against this motion because there are parts of in the application missing from the other applicants as well. And I think it's totally unfair that we select one that we're going to postpone and not the other ones.
Counselor
Right ahead,
Farrell.
let's take a vote.
If I could, just to my colleague, I understand his point of view. I would say that there can be sometimes inadvertent omissions, but then there can be substantive omissions of information.
It doesn't matter, sir. With all due respect, it does not matter.
All right, I just wanted you to know
A
that.
violation is a violation, no matter how you look at it, so let's vote.
So, councilors, the motion's been made to postpone number 6, was it? Counsel, what was your
Number
motion?
6.
To continue to July 27th.
Continue to a later date.
Madam President,
Well,
on the motion?
yes.
Is the applicant here?
Yes.
And so we are unable to hear the applicant tonight? Is
Well,
what
I mean, that's, your
Attorney
we're
Resnick
going
is
to
saying?
vote, so if the vote fails to postpone this, then we could hear it this evening. It's up, it's up to the council, it's the will of the council.
We've gone through.
So we can just take a vote on, so a motion's been made to postpone applicant number 6, and it has been properly seconded. All those in favor of postponing, please raise your hand. So that's,
You may want to do a roll call.
yeah, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
The only it in the whole group?
No.
We're gonna do that, right?
No.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
So the item number 6 is postponed until further date. We don't have a,
Till July 27th,
At the time.
until July 27th, which,
to give the attorney an opportunity to submit what needs to be submitted.
sure, but I don't know, how can we, July 27th is our next city council meeting,
That's
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you, attorney.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Clerk?
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, the petitioner is the Holistic Concepts, Inc., DBA, the Holistic Concepts located at 1915 Main Street, Brockton, Mass. 02301. Hearing assigned for July 27th at 2020 at 7 p.m.
Time having arrived to declare this hearing open. If there's anyone here in favor, I would ask them to please come forward and give your name to the clerk at this time. The hearing is open. For those in favor that wish to be heard,
I can't.
Can I have a seat?
good evening. Just give your name,
Sit down.
your name and address to the clerk so she can record it, if you may.
Good evening, Attorney David Asak. I'm here as president of the Holistic Concepts, Inc. I'm at 95 West Elm Street, Brockton.
Very good. Good evening. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. Is there anything you'd like to say at this particular time before we take any questions from the councilors?
I'm ready.
You're ready. Any, who wants to be, anybody have any questions in regards to this, councilors? Councilor Fowle?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Attorney Azak.
Evening.
I'm going to ask these questions of all of the applicants. They're pretty straightforward. A lot of it covers the information that you have provided to us and that you submitted to the Cannabis Control Commission. However, it's more for the benefit of having it on the record and having the public aware of the process that we follow when we evaluate a marijuana retail or other license. So just bear with me. I'm sure this will go along fairly quickly. Have you reviewed the city ordinances relating to marijuana business regulations?
I have.
Do you understand the provisions of the ordinances and acknowledge that any violation of them could be grounds for suspension or revocation of any license granted by the council?
I do.
Do you understand and acknowledge that any false or misleading statements during this application procedure could be grounds for revocation of any license?
I do.
Are there any public employees in the city, appointed or elected, who have a financial or other interest in your application? And I define other as an investment, potential employment, or management role.
No.
Who are the principal investors in the company? Names, no addresses needed, and the approximate amounts that are being invested, if you would?
Sure. Myself and my two partners, David Asak, Willow Crafey, and Christine Asak. The Willow Crafey has, at the time of the application, I believe it was $125,000 in an account which currently is $1 million, just short of $1 million. My application provided $75,000 available funding. My available funding is currently $325,000. And Christine Asak likewise provided $75,000, and she has available, I believe it's $100 or $125. And each of the three partners in the corporation own investment property, much of it free and clear and available to be sold if further financing is needed.
All right, do you have an ownership agreement with any other individuals other than those that you've just named? And if so, could you tell us who they are and their respective roles?
I do not.
Who would be, if you've made the selection, the day-to-day manager of the business, or is it too soon to determine that?
It is too soon.
Do you currently own any other marijuana licensed business in Massachusetts or in another state?
I do not.
Do you have a pending application for any other marijuana license in Massachusetts of any type or in another state?
I do not.
Is the business for which you're seeking a license to be operated for more than a year or longer? In other words, do you view this as a long-term business relationship with the city?
I do.
Have you executed a host community agreement with any other municipality in Massachusetts?
I have not.
And after all approvals from the city and the Cannabis Control Commission, what would be the approximate date that you think you would be able to commence operations?
3 to 5 months.
3 to 5 months? Well, I'd like to thank you for your responses this evening and for the detail that you provided to us in the packet. That's much appreciated.
You're
A lot of
welcome.
reading, but much appreciated.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. President.
You're welcome, Counselor. Counselor Cardozo.
Evening.
Good evening, can you hear me?
I can.
Hi. So I have 3 questions, and this will be the same question for all applicants. Questions that my residents are concerned about: community safety plan, ensuring, I know everything's in all of this, but the public needs to hear it. What is your plan around making sure that there's safety around young folks not accessing your products under 21? Traffic, the impact in the community, any safety plan that you have that you think is relevant so that the public understands. Next, your impact, positive impact to the community. What programs are you looking to sponsor or to, donate to or to implement that would positively impact the community? And your response to complaints. So if there are folks that are complaining about certain situations at your business, what is your plan to respond to those complaints? Thank you.
You're welcome. I have my security consultant with me. My security is going to comply with the ordinance. Security personnel on staff as needed if security personnel in the form of security or off-duty police are not present. A manager or acting manager will be certified. Anyone certified to be running the operation at any hour that it's open will be instructed of the security protocols and will be prepared to put them in place. The obvious first security protocol is that the police are available to be called, and they will be called. There'll be no shyness or hesitation about that. In compliance with the ordinance, there'll be no windows into the establishment. We were lucky, the physical foundation provides a waiting room as you enter. So we'll be able to track the people that enter the waiting room, and then from the waiting room to the showroom, there are doors, the doors are locked, and people will be escorted from the waiting room to the storage, to the shopping area. If you need details, my security personnel is here, but we intend to have the highest tech security to confirm a person's identity and a person's age.
Okay,
That's what he does for a living, and we've discussed him providing the highest tech security available.
very good. And in this age of COVID-19, making sure people are coming in and out quickly, getting what they need, and keeping that flow going, and making sure that the traffic is not impacting that area as well.
I'm acutely aware of that. We have a new baby in the family, so I have been practicing. This is the most people I've been in a room with in 4 months. The door to my office is locked, and I wear the mask, and I exercise social distancing. And it isn't just for my protection. I recognize that everyone who practices social distancing is protecting everyone else, so I'm acutely aware of it. I don't know where we'll be when we open, where that will be, but those protocols will certainly be in place.
Okay, and then your community impact programs, if any, for Brockton?
Yes, I have a very brief presentation, and I discuss it briefly in that presentation. If you want to wait, and if I don't cover it, I can come back to it.
Sounds good.
Rather than tell you twice.
Okay. And your response to community complaints, if there are any issues that arise when you open your business, what type of response do you plan on?
We've actually had many meetings discussing that. All complaints are going to go directly to each of the 3 board of directors so that we can address it immediately. I don't know how better to answer that question than, just like in my business and my law practice, I have a license to protect, and I can't allow people who want to destroy that to affect my license, and I don't intend to do that. I don't intend to have any tolerance for someone who wants to be either dishonest or sloppy. And we know there are people that do that, and to be honest with you, not to get too personal, I think a lot of us lose a lot of freedoms because this small handful of people who take advantage, who don't follow rules and regulations, who do violate. I don't expect I'll have any tolerance whatsoever for that behavior. That's affecting my license, that's going to affect my ability to run that shop.
Okay, thank you very much. Proceed. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. President.
Counselor. Counselor Mendez?
Hello, good evening. So just along to what Councilor Cardozo said, I know that her concern was for children under the age of 21 getting access to the products. My biggest concern really is minor little children under 5 years old. And the reason that I state that is because all of this edible and chocolate and gummy bears, all that stuff is very new to me. And then I was researching at the Massachusetts Commission of Poison Center, and in the year of 2019, out of 49,000+ calls they received, 18,000 of those were poisoned by little kids of under 5 years old, just by their parents probably being careless and not protecting the product. So my question to you, anything in regards to education as to the people that is going to be purchasing these products, to making sure that little kids are protected, because the marijuana trend has seemed to be increasing. So there's a chart that when it first started, it didn't seem to be a problem, but now with this new trend, of course, that is the biggest concern. So I am going even further as to under 21. My question is really the little kids under 5 that needs to be protected.
I'm glad you asked that, because we spent an awful lot of time in meetings discussing that. We intend to have signage to make people more aware, and we intend to have, and we're not going to open the door until we have pamphlets that are going to be handed to each and every customer about the responsibilities that they have with the purchase that they've legally made, and the consequences of where those legally obtained drugs could end up. People could get hurt or worse. There'll be pamphlets of education.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I really hope that you put in a lot of effort into that, because that would really destroy any business, especially here in Brockton. We definitely don't want to see that. My other question is regarding the status of your provisional state approval. Could you tell me what is the status of that at this point, and what do you?
I certainly can. The provisional is granted at the beginning of the month at the monthly meeting by the CCC. This month's meeting was July 9th, and our commitment from the city has to send the notice that we've complied, arrived July 10th. So I will have my provisional at the first week's meeting of the Cannabis Control Commission. They've accepted and closed my application. Beyond that, I can also tell you that, because they can't tell me that they're going to approve it. They can tell me everything but that. But I can tell you, because I did inquire, 540 applications have been approved, and only 4 have been rejected. And of those 4, it was one business owner. Some of you may remember, I remember reading about him in the newspaper. He was involved in fraud, where he was using different identities but owning 4 licenses. He got rejected. That's the only one. According to the gentleman I spoke to in licensing at the Cannabis Control Commission, that's the only people that have been rejected. So again, he couldn't tell me directly that that's not me. He closed my packet, so I think that's an assurance that I'll have my provisional, but I won't have it till the first week in August.
Another question, where are you going to be getting your products from? Are you going to be buying it local, or?
Again, I was hoping you'd ask me that question. I spoke with the cultivation company in Brockton, and I said to the one of the representatives, I'm a Brockton boy and I want to buy Brockton, and he said, right now there isn't enough product. He said, you have to establish relations with everybody in the state and hope to get enough product. I don't know where that will be 3 to 4 to 5 months from now, but my preference, of course, is to buy local, buy Brockton.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All set, Counsel? Good. Counsel Rodriguez?
Thank you, Mr. President. Attorney, how are you?
Evening. Good.
I, too, intend to ask 3 questions from everybody that comes in, but mine is I'm going to take it a little different than everybody else, I hope. And my first question is, what will your business do for Brockton in terms of job creation?
I expect it'll reflect the clientele that I have worked with in Brockton for 34 years. I expect that it will reflect, and I know that it will reflect, and I'll make sure that it reflects the diversity of the city, the diversity of this community.
Well, I was actually looking at numbers in terms of job creations. How many jobs do you think you're going to create?
Our projection is 22 jobs. That includes management, assistant management, and staff.
And do you plan, you kind of touched a little bit on it, but do you plan to hire Brocktonians?
First and foremost.
First and foremost?
Well, first and foremost, either people that are qualified or people that we can qualify that are going to be responsible, that are going to be dependable. And secondly, local Brockton residents.
You know, the reason why I'm asking this is because we hear way too often that we can't find qualified people in the city of Brockton. And sometimes it's dumbfounded in the sense that we have 100,000 people walking the streets in this city, and we can't find somebody to clean the floors, do some of the menial work that sometimes is required. So that's why I'm asking this question. Please.
There's a reason why many people aren't qualified for a job. It's because they haven't been given a chance to
Exactly.
get a job. If you judge someone by their character and the quality of their character, not by mistakes they may have made, you'd be surprised what you can shape out of somebody. You give them a little responsibility, you give them a little bit of respect, you'd be surprised what they'll give you back.
I appreciate that, and I hope that you do that. And my last question was basically in terms of diversity within the workforce that you're gonna look into hire. I mean, to be honest with you, out of the now 5 applicants that we have here, there's not a single Black or African American applicant coming forward looking for a license in the city. So I was hoping, since they can't be business owners, that perhaps they can be the employees within these businesses.
And they will be, and one of my partners is an HR director of 14 years, and that's a passion of hers.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Thank you.
All set, Counsel? Counsel Castro?
Thank you. Good evening, Attorney
Evening.
Azak. Thank you for being here. So this is an application for a retail license, and it would be located at 1915 Main Street, the location of the former Jiffy Lube in front of the Kmart Plaza on South Main Street, close to the West Bridgewater line in Ward 4, which I represent. Okay. I just want to make sure our viewing audience is aware of that. And so I've reviewed your package, lots of bedtime reading, and most of the information, of course, that was submitted to the Cannabis Commission is dated last year. And so I wanted to ask you, is your registered domestic business corporation current?
Yes, we just updated our certificate of good standing.
Okay, good. So that's both your good standing with the Secretary of State and with the Department of
Department of
Revenue.
Revenue, that's correct.
Very good, okay. And I wanted to ask, I noticed in these documents, you've provided us with the Cannabis Commission background check application, but not the confirmation.
Not the confirmation.
Yeah. So,
I can comment on that. If, once he receives his provisional license, he'll receive a letter
Okay.
that says your intent and your background have been confirmed.
so that
So
comes with the
that's part
provisional
of it.
license?
Yeah, that's like a two-page letter that's received once the provisional license is granted.
Okay.
Thank you, I didn't
Thank
realize
you.
that. We did take the final steps. We each had to present our query, pay for the applications, and go to a location in, was it Westwood? And we each had to be fingerprinted, and we
Sure.
did that. And we each got our receipts for that, but we didn't get that final certificate. Now I know why.
Okay. And I note that you've been to the Planning Board for site plan approval.
Yes.
You've been to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit. There are conditions on both of those certificates, and I just want you to acknowledge that you will satisfy them. For example, the ZBA commented on the special permit, your hours would be 8 until 8, right?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
And there were certain conditions on the site plan approval that were to be satisfied, and then you're going to notify the planning board of it.
That's correct.
Okay.
And we were on the hours. I hesitated because I'm fighting with we can open at 8. Personally, I'm not sure that I want to, but we can.
Sure,
I don't know if anybody needs to buy marijuana at 8 o'clock in the morning.
right.
I made a,
Although, as I drive around the city at 8 o'clock in the morning, I think there is some usage going on, but that is another issue for another day.
I made a promise to Mayor Carpenter, who granted me this privilege, that I was going to be responsible as I've been for the last 34 years in my business, and he took me at my word, and I'm going to keep that word.
Good. I want to speak for a moment about security, because of course, we want to keep Ward 4 safe, and of course, the area of West Bridgewater that we abut. So talk to us for a minute about your security plans.
I expect there'll be police present for most, if not all of the day, but I can't promise that. I can promise that if there isn't a police detail on staff, that there'll be someone certified to handle the security. The electronics is going to make sure that no underage can get in. And again, I've got the waiting room, so you've got to get into a waiting room, then you've got to get into the showroom, a locked showroom, and you have to provide the proper security. So even an untrained person, that won't be breached, but there'll be trained, certified people. And it's required under the CCC that personnel be certified, they'll be trained, they'll be certified.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All set, Counsel? Councilors? Attorney Azak, I know you have, if I'm not mistaken, I see that you have some type of a quick presentation. I want to make sure that, since this is the first hearing, I want to set the tone so that everyone else has the same. timeframe too. I just don't want us to keep going above and beyond, but I am going to allow you, if there are a couple things you want to point out that you feel are important to what you're doing in, you know, your new operation here with recreational marijuana, I would allow you to go into it and spend just a couple of minutes, okay?
I timed it, and I did it in less than 10.
Okay.
And having answered many of the questions, I think I can beat my record time.
I'll give you 5.5.
I'll do it.
Go right ahead.
Needs no introduction. I'm going to go through each of those steps quickly. This is our mission statement. You don't need me to read it, but the ability to purchase high-quality cannabis to customers with a product, service, and brand they can trust. I think part of the reasons for these state laws is that so people don't buy stuff off the street that's not safe. So we're going to make sure that we've got the highest product available. George? This is our team. I think I've introduced my team. David Asak. I've got Willow Crayford, the treasurer. She wears several hats. She owns several businesses, and they're successful due to her entrepreneurial abilities. And Christine Asak, who I already referred to. Josh? Oh, I had addressed that it's self-funded. We're not getting any Colorado money or any big business money. We're funding this. This is a depiction that's on the CCC website, and I like it. You can see the top, it says equality, and it shows people of different abilities riding the same bike. And then underneath equity, you see people of different abilities riding bikes that meet their abilities. George? Social equity status. I just want to talk briefly about that. We did apply for social equity status. We did qualify for it, and we did receive it. Be honest with you, that's what slowed me down with my provisional, or I would have had it. But again, I made a promise to Mayor Carpenter. That was one of his passions. That was important to him, and I got qualified. You can see from the presentation that less than 4% of the licenses in the state, and I think we all read the paper and hear the news, how it's just not getting distributed properly. And so I qualified for that, and I have that status. Provisional license we've discussed. George? We can skip that, we've discussed that. And a look at the current location. This is a rendering. I can't promise it'll look exactly like that, but it'll be beautiful. This is the layout. It's a very big showroom. There's men's and ladies' rooms. It's not part of the public. If the public wants to use them, fortunately for our layout, it's in a secure area, and they will be escorted. I'm just not the type. In fact, if I see a restaurant that says no public restroom, I don't go there. If people need a restroom, they're going to use it. But given the sensitive nature of the product, they'll be
Escorted.
they'll be escorted.
Security will be watching
Yeah.
it, yes, yeah.
Well, we don't want anybody buying the product and using it in the bathroom, so.
Right.
Location, we're all aware of that. I just want to point out, because I'm so proud of this, we're taking an existing abandoned building, and we all know the south side is struggling, and I can't wait to be part of, hopefully, what will be.
You noticed that,
the
attorney, right?
rehab.
You noticed the south side's struggling. You noticed it's struggling.
I grew up on the south side.
Doesn't
born
matter
and
who,
raised in
doesn't matter
Brooklyn.
whose ward it is, it's struggling. Yeah.
Oh, I have a letter. I won't bother to present it. I'll just tell you, from Steve Brockton. He owns the Kmart Plaza, and he owns the Jiffy Lube, and we have the agreement to purchase it, and he just wanted you to know that he's in favor of this. He's anxious to get us in there to bring more commerce into the area to help support his, what he hopes is his rebuilt retail operations.
That's great, thank you.
Traffic, we all know, I think, not only is it not a problem, I think we need some traffic on South Main Street. We need to bring some commerce and some revenue.
We love listening about traffic, right?
Diversity plan, these are the minimums, and I put them there, but please know that I don't bind myself to these minimums, and you can see what the minimums are, and they will be followed. positive impact. I told you I'd get back to that. We have programs. They do include career fairs. Hoping they're going to let me host those because I really will enjoy that. Advertising for hiring for Brockton residents, including those with prior marijuana charges. That might sound like a misnomer, but that's what the regulations want. That's what the CCC is looking for. That was one of the state intentions, is to help people who were harmed financially and socially by convictions of an offense that's no longer illegal.
Right.
Conducting fundraisers and monetary donations to the City of Brockton annually, and we've partnershiped with the Evan G. Foundation. We chose them because they're a charity that provides drug awareness to the schools. So, and the minimum donation is $1,500, and we certainly will exceed that. I mean, that's where you reach kids in the schools. And that's just the letter from the foundation accepting us and offering their sponsorship. And lastly, nuisance, noise and light sequestered to...
Attorney Asak, sorry, just if you could stand closer to the podium so that the public can hear you. Thank you.
Noise and lights sequestered to specific limited access areas and in compliance, of course, with the town bylaws and the ordinance. Signage and lighting will conform to state and municipal guidelines, and the traffic study was approved at Planning Board with no negative impact. Thank you all.
Very good. Councilors, anything else? Anyone else is there anyone else here that wants to be heard in favor that's here this evening? Please take time now to come forth and state your name and address to the clerk. No one else that wants to be heard in favor? I'm going to declare that hearing closed. Is there anybody here in opposition? If there's anybody here this evening in opposition of this particular location? Anyone here in opposition? Anyone out there? No one's here in opposition? I'm going to declare that part of the hearing closed. And at this point, the hearing has been closed. Now, councilors, the question is going to come on granting for this particular license at 1915 Main Street here in Brockton, Mass. And at that particular time, Councilor Mendez.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to recommend favorably, subject to state's approval within 6 months of today's date.
Councilor Mendez has made a recommendation in favor of.
Second.
Do I have a second? Who seconded it? Councilor Thompson has seconded.
On the motion, Mr. President?
On the motion, Councilor Fowle.
Would the councilor accept a friendly amendment that it would also be contingent upon the execution of a valid host community agreement between the mayor and a filing of a copy of that agreement with the office of the clerk? Because I think most of these are going to be expired, and we just want to make sure that we have a valid host community agreement for each of these. So would
Yes.
that be a friendly amendment?
Okay, so
If she'll
the
accept
motion's
it.
been made and seconded with now we have an amendment on it, so you're making a motion to amend, correct? Councilor
Correct.
Fowle?
If she'll accept it, then I don't have to amend it.
All right, you're going to accept it?
Yes, I
Okay,
accept
then
it.
it's been accepted then, okay. Yeah, and it's already been seconded as well. All set, councilors, that's going to be by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardozo,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Ianieri,
Yes.
Farwell,
Yes.
Lally,
Yes.
Mendez,
Yes.
Monahan,
Yes.
Nicastro,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
That's 10 voting in the affirmative, 0 in opposition.
And at this point, that the license has been granted for that location at 1915 Main Street here in Brockton, Mass. And at this time, that will close that hearing, and we will proceed now to item number 2. Correct, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President,
Yes.
was that on the amendment or on the item itself?
It was a total, because she accepted as amendment, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we voted it as a total.
Yeah, that was on the
It was
grant of the
10 in the
license.
affirmative.
Yeah, 10 in the affirmative, yes, yeah.
Mr. President, I'll move reconsideration in the hope that it does not prevail.
Second.
Motion's been made and second for reconsideration in hopes it does not prevail. All in favor of reconsideration? All opposed? Reconsideration fails. Okay, so we're all set on that one. Okay, we'll have item number 2. Thank you.
Thank you all.
And good luck. Welcome.
We have the petition of Green World LLC, DBA Green Heart, located at 897 North Montello Street, Brockton, Mass. 02301. Hearing assigned for July 27, 2020, at 7 p.m.
Time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Is there anyone here in favor? If so, please come forward and give your name to the clerk.
Good evening, Madam President. Attorney Jake Creedon. With me is my long associate, Attorney Scott Rubin, who will actually make the presentation for us. I want to make some just preliminary comments that we will touch on, but this is new waters for all of you and all of us. But I can tell you that my office, and we have two here this evening, have been on this since day one. We have interfaced weekly with the Control Commission in Boston to help establish opinions and rules and other things. We have also gone way out of our way to assist the City of Brockton and the Solicitor's Office in clarifying a whole bunch of points and a whole bunch of procedures, which I think has benefited the council here. There is no one, in my opinion, and I've been around a very long time, as you all know, that in Eastern Massachusetts, nobody knows more about this procedure and process than my attorney here, Scott Rubin. He has been on it every day for a good year and a half. So with that, I would introduce you to Scott and let you know that the applicant, Sonny Aritz Damian, is here also. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Creedon.
I don't know if I'm supposed to keep my...
You can move the mask to speak. Yes.
So put it back up.
Might want to do that. Tough act to follow there. Thank you again, Scott Rubin, on behalf of Silverstein and Creedon and Green World LLC. As the clerk mentioned, this is a retail application for 897 North Montello Street over on the north side of town. This was formerly a Papagino's restaurant that had been vacant for quite some period of time. This particular location is in a neighborhood intersection that I think is in need of revitalization for sure, badly. This building was in quite a state of disrepair since Papagino's had vacated that space quite some time ago. Sonny, as you, I'm sure, all know, is a business owner in the city, owns businesses in all corners of this city. This would add another business as well to his portfolio, but he is a strong supporter of the city of Brockton. And when this new business opportunity came to light, this was something that he desperately wanted to do and has been involved in since September of 2018. We have been involved with this. We were, once we received our host community agreement, so we have been associated with this particular location since February of 2019. So we have had a long and thorough and expensive process to get to this point. So we just by way of short background here as well, councilors, we filed our state applications back in May of 2019, back when I think there was a massive flood of applications that came in all across the state. So we were unable to obtain our provisional license until almost a year later, received our provisional license in May of 2020. But in the meantime, we had gone through the city process, gone through the planning board and zoning board, and spent our funds and due diligence in doing the development for this location because we felt so strongly that this was the right spot for this business. The CCC was thankfully has approved our application, and so we look forward to hopefully a successful hearing tonight to get us past and get us into the next stage. I know Councilor Fowler had asked about investment, so I figure I'll jump on that now. We do expect that this will likely be over $1 million investment in this particular location. The clients have already spent upwards of $200,000 just in development costs. Because they don't own this particular location, they're under a lease for contract. They've had to pay the rent on this location since February of 2019, and they've been maintaining that in hopes that this would be a successful business venture. Sonny, again, as you all know, I hope, is a successful business owner. He employs a great number of people in this city, many, a diverse group of employees he has at all of his locations. And he certainly expects that that will extend to this particular venture as well. He's partnered with a gentleman known as Gevorg Sarabikian, otherwise known as George. George is basically a 50-50 partner. It's technically 49-51, technically. But George will bring his experience from Colorado. He's a current owner and operator of a couple of businesses out in Colorado. And so he was one of the first licensees in the state of Colorado and has owned and operated really since the beginning of that industry. So he brings with us a wealth of information and background that will essentially, we hope, certainly guarantee the success of this business. This is a time of, I think, budgetary concerns, financial concerns for the city. Getting these, specifically, certainly getting our location open as soon as possible will provide the city with not only construction jobs, full-time jobs. We are expecting anywhere from 20 to 25 equivalent full-time employees at this location. It may vary depending on how many part-timers and how well the job search goes for looking for qualified employees to run in these businesses. So we do expect a substantial amount of money to be generated out of this business in favor of the city as well. So we think the location is totally suitable. It provides, I believe it's on a bus line. It's on a major intersection with plenty of traffic where that Papagino's was. We have rail access as well as the station. MBTA station is not far from our location, within walking distance as well. We have what we think is a perfect blend of someone with business experience in the city itself and somebody who lives and cares about the city, with somebody who is also has an extreme background in the marijuana business already to provide what we think is an excellent combination to make this business successful. So with that, and I know you'll have other questions, but we ask that you favorably approve this application.
Thank you, Attorney Rubin. Councilors? Councilor Cardoso.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
So, Sonny, having experience in the city with all these businesses, we appreciate that you employ a lot of our residents, but we also know that we have a lot of issues around racial inequities and drugs and substance abuse and other issues in the city that we'd like to tackle. So just what have you done to kind of help with some of the preventative programs, and what are your thoughts on some programs that you could contribute to help us out in the city as a business owner?
Are you talking specifically related to, we do have a positive impact. Sorry about this mask keeps riding up on me. We do have a positive impact plan that provides partnerships with a couple of local charities in which we felt were important. One specifically is the Charity Guild, which provides food pantry and other resources to the city, which we know has been essentially a city institution, really. It's been around for quite a long period of time. We expect to provide a donation to that charity as well. We also partnered with the Abigail's Place that provides substance abuse to individuals that are in transition as well. So we picked these two particular charities.
I haven't heard of Abigail's Place. I saw that in your packet. And I love the Charity Guild. They do great work. But I'd like to see folks who own businesses in this community really invest in the issues that our kids are faced with. And so, to keep that in mind moving forward, that there's a lot of work to be done, especially in this climate. In our youth, we really need to invest in them. So, I'd like for people, when they think about who they're going to donate to and what positive impact they're going to have in a community, to speak to people like myself, who's an activist, and other folks in the community, to really figure out what programs need support. Because people tend to gravitate to easy programs that they hear about, but there's a lot of grassroots organizations that are doing really great work that I think the businesses should support, especially someone like yourself that owns multiple businesses in the community. So I'm happy to talk to you,
Sure.
About those, but we really need to focus on some of those programs that are doing more preventative work with our youth.
It would be, because of the marijuana complication, the partnerships that we can enter into are complicated.
Right, aside from that, he is a person that owns many businesses, so that's what.
That would be perfect for our non-marijuana businesses to be partners with that, and he'd be happy to work with you on that. Absolutely.
Very good. And then my other question was, again, in response to complaints from the community, if we do have complaints, what are your plans to address complaints from our constituents?
Well, Sonny lives in the city, and he's available basically 24/7. We have him, as well as our Director of Security, would be available. The police department have both their cell phone numbers as well. And to the extent that there are any complaints, he's here actively managing, again, multiple businesses in the city, and there will be no issue about addressing any particular complaints. We certainly understand this is a highly regulated industry, not just by the state, but by the city as well, and that our primary focus has to be a good neighbor.
Yep.
Make sure we're preventing minors from accessing our products, and keeping a safe environment both for the employees and for the customers. We do expect that these transactions are relatively quick, and so hopefully that would prevent a lot of buildup of individuals, get people come, get their product and go, and not have any hanging around. So anybody hanging around in the location is going to stick out as a sore thumb for sure. And so our security will be aware of that. But Sonny is an active business owner and does not want, I know, unfortunately it's 7 days a week for him, but he is not looking for any kind of issues.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, but you have to always anticipate that there will be folks that will complain about, and they call us first. So we want to have a good relationship with you so we can say, hey, there's one of our constituents is complaining, can you, help us out? Because we're the first ones to hear about.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I appreciate you. Thank you and good luck.
All set, Counselor?
Thank you, Madam President.
Counselor Farwell.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, gentlemen. Same questions I asked the first applicant, so no surprises here. To the attorney and your client, have you reviewed the city ordinances relating to marijuana business regulations?
Many times.
Do you understand the provisions of the ordinances and acknowledge that a violation of them could be grounds for suspension or revocation of any license granted by the city council?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand and acknowledge that any false or misleading statements during this application procedure could be grounds for revocation of any license?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Are there any public employees in the city, appointed or elected, who have a financial or other interest in your application? And I define other as investment, potential employment, or a management role. Principal investors of the company, I think you've mentioned those. I know it's a 51-49 split, but is it Gevorg? Is that how you pronounce it?
Gevorg.
Gevorg, the two of you? Okay.
Yes, it's just the two.
One of my colleagues touched on the hiring of Brockton residents, which really is very important. Do you have an ownership agreement with any other individuals that we haven't mentioned tonight? And if so, who are they? None?
No, no.
Thank you. If you know, do you have the day-to-day manager of the company, business picked out yet?
Probably it's gonna be me.
I'm sorry?
It's gonna be me. For now, it's gonna be
For now, it's gonna
Sunny.
be- Oh, okay.
We do
Thank you.
expect, we're gonna need several layers of management to work all the hours, so.
Do you currently own any other marijuana licensed businesses in Massachusetts or any other state?
Oh, well, we do. We don't own any. The co-owner, Mr. Sarabican, runs a Colorado operation, yes. There's 2 Colorado operations that are part of his ownership. They have nothing to do with us, though.
But nothing to do with Mr. Aramustian?
No, Mr. Aristamian is not involved in that at all, but I want to be sure that we're complete when we answer our questions.
All right. Do you have a pending application for any other marijuana license in Massachusetts or another state?
We don't have a pending application, but we are looking at Fall River as a future expansion, yes.
For retail?
Yes, actually retail, potentially cultivation as well. Cultivation is important as a supplement to a retail operation, so you can provide for product for your own retail operations as best you can.
Thank you. And is the business for which you seek a license, do you anticipate operating that for a year or more? Is this a long-term investment? I know most of his other companies are.
Yes.
Yes. And the answer is yes, just for the record.
Yes.
Have you executed a host community agreement with any other municipality in Massachusetts?
Yes.
Fall River?
Yes. Yes.
If you have a conditional license from the CCC, which you do, what other requirements are they asking of you before you can be fully licensed, if you could just summarize?
At this point, the only thing left for us is to submit an architectural review request, which would be required for us to begin our renovations of the site. And that has to be signed off on. And I believe once the inspections are complete, we would need to seek a final license from the state. So.
All right, and the last question is, on what date would you expect to begin operations after all of the licensing is squared away and you've done what you need to the facility, approximately?
December 1st.
December?
December 1st would be our ideal start time.
Of 2020?
Yes. Oh, if it's 20.
Well, that's an aggressive,
Well, we have a contractor lined up, and we are prepared to pull the building permit any day now. So we have essentially a 2.5, 3-month timeline for the renovations. We just need CCC to approve our architectural review process, which doesn't take very long once we can submit it. So we'd be pretty aggressive for those 3-4 months to get the work done, and then hopefully get our occupancy permit from the city as well, so.
oh, thank you for your responses, and thank you for the materials that you submitted in advance. Very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Mendez.
Hello.
Hi, now you can hear me. Was there a traffic study done at that location? That seemed, and what was the outcome?
We did a significant traffic study back when we did for tech review and for planning board, and there was very little impact, keeping in mind that it's already a busy intersection, and also that it was a Papagino's, and Papagino's had a pretty significant turnover at that location, so it was not considered to be of any real significance as far as increase in traffic from what had formerly been there.
Yes, that seems to be a very busy intersection in the city. So,
Hope to capture some of those clients as they come by.
unlike the other one on the south side. The other question that I have is regarding the product source, where you expect, and I know that you're planning to do the cultivation in the future, but as of now, do you have any contracts with some companies?
We hope to be in Brockton. We'd like to buy as much product from Brockton as we can. That both helps the city out with its tax revenue, sales tax revenue, and is close and locally sourced to us, so that the transportation aspect of this would be close by, to the extent that, Brockton can, I'm sure everybody's looking in this area for the same product, but we'd like to go as close as we possibly can. Short of that, if we're unable to get product or enough product from Brockton, there's Wareham. There's quite a few cultivators that are coming online now that that we've had, so.
And my final question is the same one that I've also asked before regarding my concern of children of 5 years old and under having access to the edibles of this type of product, which is a new thing. And then that is something that shows the poison control that it is increasing. So what types of education that the customers would be getting in order to ensure that, the minor kids will not?
Yeah, so they do have pamphlets and information that's available to them. The packaging is state required, so it's one of the things that the CCC does regulate is specific packaging, especially for edibles, and so it should have the proper labeling on it. All the customers are going to receive information, obviously how to store their products and keep them away from, and they are in childproof containers. Obviously, the customer has to ultimately be responsible for how they use the product and where they use it and whether they leave it around. We can only be responsible for it as it's stored and delivered to the customer in the proper packaging as required by the state. But certainly, it's nobody's here looking to try to, influence, and kids are not a source of this product. They're not our customers, and so we obviously want this product to be used responsibly by the people that we cater to, that are looking for this product, and we certainly want to educate them when at the point of sale, at minimum, as to how harmful it can be. And interesting enough, since we're all been home quite a bit, I don't know if you've seen, there's been a lot more cannabis ads that have been showing up. I don't know if they're showing up on your particular channels, but the commission seems to be in an ad campaign to sort of talk about a lot of this stuff as well, public awareness, and so I think they take it very seriously as well.
Yeah, thank you.
All set, Counselor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. Gentlemen, I asked these questions from the other individuals that were here before you, and I'm going to do the same thing to you in terms of a number of jobs. How many jobs are you looking to create in Brockton?
As I said, it was 25 equivalent full-time, so that could range from 20 to 25, but it could range from the number of part-time individuals, 2 part-time individuals that are working half-time could be, equivalent to 1 full-time. But that's our expectation for now.
And will you pledge here to do what you can to hire Brocktonians?
Yes, absolutely. The CCC as well has identified Brockton as an area of disproportionate impact, and so even out of, to be honest with you, even out of town, out of city, businesses should be focusing on areas of disproportionate impact, and so our goal is to comply with our diversity plan at minimum and to employ as many Brockton residents as we possibly can, absolutely.
And as you heard from my comment earlier, there is very few. There's actually, out of the list of businesses that we have in front of us, there's not a single minority black business involved in this particular venture. Will you put a significant effort to try to diversify your staff? And I don't mean just the people cleaning the floors. I'm talking about folks at different levels within your business, at least to kind of resemble the community that they represent?
Absolutely. We think it's important that we do that. I think Sunny, again, has, I'm not sure how many actual
managers, they're all
minorities in your current businesses?
The other businesses.
How many total employees do you have?
I have 120 employees, 99 it's a percent, it's a Brocktonian. And probably, I would say 90% it's minorities.
Because as you know, we are here discussing in this chamber of government to providing you a license to operate, to sell a product that was illegal just a few months ago. And
Yes.
there's quite a few people that were affected by, or that are still doing time for either selling, buying, using this particular product. And that's why, it bothers me a little bit that we're not putting a great deal of effort to include those individuals that were severely affected by marijuana or the effects of marijuana. That's why I'm bringing this up, and I hope that you will at least do your due diligence in the sense to try to include those individuals in your employment portfolio. Thank you, and good luck. Thank you, Madam.
Counselor, any other questions, counselors? No. Counselor Nicastro.
Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen. I've reviewed your package, and most of your representations as presented to the CCC are dated last year. And so I'd just like to know, is your corporation in good standing with both the Secretary of State and with the Department of Revenue?
Yeah, again, that's not a question that I was expecting tonight, so to the best of my knowledge,
Yes.
that it's in good standing. Certainly, the Department of Revenue, we haven't had any sales, and so there's no operations, so there would be no way for the entity to fall behind on any obligations that it would have with the
So
state.
that makes it easy.
Yes. So I don't think any of the entities coming before you would have had any operations at this
Sure.
point, so, yeah.
Sure, and I also wanted to point out there are conditions on both your site plan approval and your special permit from
Yes.
the ZBA, and you'll be complying with those.
Yes, absolutely.
Great, okay. And finally, I'd like to echo my colleague, Councilor Rodriguez, employing Brockton residents so that not only a Brockton-based business, but Brockton residents can benefit. It's very important. Thank you, gentlemen.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Madam President.
Counselor? Any other counselors? No? Well, I would like to go on the record as this business is in Ward 7, and I'm very familiar with Sonny. He owns a few businesses in Ward 7, and I attended his community meeting that he had for this, for Green World, and it was well presented, and I know that I can reach out to Sonny to answer Councilor Cardoso. Anytime we have any constituent issues or complaints, he's present. He's a business owner he's hands-on, he's there, and I have no problem reaching him if we need to. And he runs good businesses. I mean, he keeps them clean, and I haven't gotten any major complaints regarding his businesses in Ward 7, so I just wanted to go on the record with that. So is there anybody else here in favor, that would like to speak in favor? If not, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Is there anyone here in opposition? If so, please come forward and give your name to the clerk. Is there anyone else here in opposition? I declare that portion of the hearing closed. So, councilors,
Madam President,
Councilor Farwell.
I move to grant a license contingent upon the negotiation and execution of a valid host community agreement between the mayor and the applicant, and the filing of a copy of that agreement with the office of the city clerk.
Second.
A motion's been made and
Second.
properly seconded. The question now is on roll call vote in granting this license. Madam Clerk, please read the roll.
Asak?
Yes.
Cardozo? Cruz?
Yes.
Ianary?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
That's 11 in the affirmative, 0 in opposition.
The license is granted. Congratulations.
I move reconsideration in the hope that it does not prevail.
Second.
A motion's been made for reconsideration in hopes it does not prevail, and properly seconded. All those in favor of reconsideration? All those opposed? Reconsideration fails. Thank you. Have a good night.
Congratulations.
Mr. Clerk.
We have the petition of High Corp LLC, DBA Green Star, located at 327 North Pearl Street, Brockton, Mass. Hearing assigned for July 27, 2020 at 7 p.m.
Time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Is there anyone here in favor? If so, please come forward and state your name to the clerk.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, Attorney Jay Creedon, 71 Legion Parkway, Brockton. With me is Paul Marion, the principal in the High Corp Corporation, and of course, my longstanding associate. I can't make him a partner yet. Scott Rubin. Thank you. You will note that our applications, if you went through all of them, the state vetting and all that situation, they're fairly similar. Only in the interest of time, we'd be happy, obviously, after Scott makes a more brief, clear and concise, I hope, statement on High Corp. The information is pretty much the same, but you'll have questions, I assume, specifically about Mr. Marion and his operation. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Rubin.
Thank you. Attorney Rubin again. Yes, as Attorney Creedon said, the information related to the previous application is very similar to this one, except of course the location. This location, 327 North Pearl Street in Brockton, right on the Brockton-Stoughton line. For those familiar with the old Tommy Doyle's, that was it had been Tommy Doyle's for quite some period of time. Mr. Marion and his partner, Ms. Markosian, which is also, she's unable to be here, she's also in Colorado as well, purchased this property back in, I believe it was June of 2019. So they purchased that property for $600,000 in anticipation of having received a host agreement in February of 2019. So they had made another commitment very, very early on in this process to begin this, what we turned out to be a long odyssey through the state and through the city as well. He's already pulled a building permit and does have expectations, hopefully, if his license is approved tonight. Once the CCC approves his architectural review form as well, is prepared to begin renovations right away. His estimate for his build-out is somewhere in the $400,000 range. So this total project, new investment, new growth, would be in excess of $1 million, like $1.2 million. This is a 50-50 partnership as well. Mr. Marion, as many of you I'm sure are familiar with the Marion family, has been, again, an institution dedicated to the city of Brockton, has been downtown servicing customers of all kinds for many, many decades. So Paul is very familiar with the city, very familiar with the clientele, and very familiar with being an employer and a responsible business owner. And again, Ms. Markosian's involved in Colorado operations as well, and so we think that is an important aspect of this, to be have somebody who's familiar with retail operations for as long as she's been doing it as well. They received their provisional licensure in May of 2020, May 13th to be exact. And of course, this will, they've already gutted the building, and that building itself, again, was in desperate need of rehabilitation. So I think it's a win-win. I believe Tommy Doyle's went across the street to the old Bickford's location and spent a substantial sum of money to improve that location as well, and then we come in behind and hopefully we'll make a substantial improvement to this particular building. It's an excellent location. It's a busy intersection as well, but as the city council had adopted regulations for these marijuana retail locations to be in C2 retail areas, this is a retail area. This is the heart of retail in Brockton. It will draw from both the highway, which it's right off the interchange, and it is also off Route 27 for customers coming from Stoughton and further down. So we think it's a totally appropriate location for retail. We also have expectations to be operable and open, again, with this board's, with the council's approval, sometime in December of 2020 as well. So with that, I would ask that you consider this application favorably.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions? Councilor Farwell?
I know this gets repetitious for you.
Necessary.
But for the record, have you reviewed the city ordinances relating to marijuana business regulations?
Yes, I have.
Do you understand the provisions of the ordinances and acknowledge that a violation of them could be grounds for suspension or revocation of any license granted by the city council?
I do.
Do you understand and acknowledge that any false or misleading statements during this application procedure could be grounds for revocation of any license?
Yes.
Are there any public employees in the city, appointed or elected, who have a financial or other interest in your application, and other is defined by me as an investment, potential employment, or management role?
No.
Principal investors in the company, I know that's on your CCC filing, but just for the record, the young lady's name again and the degree of, or the amount of the investments provided?
Yes, that's Kanark Markosian is her name. It's 50-50 split. And we do expect, again, this to be a $1 million investment, so.
And I think it was 150 and 150 at this point, at least
At
divulged.
the beginning, that's what we, not sure that they, when we got the applications done, that they asked us for certain information. Obviously, that's changed.
All right. Do you have an ownership agreement with any other individuals, and if so, who are the participants? None?
No.
Do you know who the day-to-day manager would be yet, or is that just subject to hiring?
It will be myself.
Do you currently own any other marijuana licensed business in Massachusetts or another state?
No.
And I understand Ms. Markosian owns something in Colorado.
Yes, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
Not involving
We
Mr.
have no
Marion.
interest, we have no financial interest in that.
Right. Do you have a pending application for any other license, marijuana license in Massachusetts or another state?
No.
No.
Is the business for which you seek a license to be operated for more than a year? In other words, is this a long-term investment?
Yes, it is.
Have you executed a host community agreement with any other municipality in Massachusetts?
No.
If you have a conditional license granted by the Cannabis Control Commission, could you summarize what further requirements you have to meet for full license approval?
So,
Yeah, similar answer as the last applicant. Architectural review, approval, inspections, and provisional, final license.
Okay, anything about hiring percentages or diversity, or I know some applicants have that, but,
Well, we have, in our provisional license, we were asked to update our diversity plan, which we've already done, so that's part of whatever our provisional license application was. And we've updated it, we just haven't, they don't open your application for resubmission until you get to the next stage, so unable to resubmit that yet until we can do that.
and I think you said you're, just for the record, December 2020, if, with all full licensing approvals?
Again, assuming the CCC cooperates, we're still at very early stages with the CCC, and it's work in progress. So
Advantage is we own the building.
it's true, but we're at their liberty, and they unfortunately won't tell you how long anything will take, and you pretty much send the paperwork in, and you wait until they call you back and hope you get an answer. So if everything goes well, we can be ready in December if they can provide us with it.
Well, again, as I said to the other applicants, I thank you for your answers, and I appreciate all of the materials you submitted in advance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I guess the question's going to be the same as the ones that I had previously asked in terms of jobs that you're going to create for Brocktonians. How many?
So, as many as I can. As many as I can. I have to go through different procedures of query forms and background checks and things like that, but I live in Brockton. All my employees in my current business from Brockton, my lineage is here. So my intention is, to my best ability, to hire as many as I can of women, of LGBTQ, all types. in my business.
Because you do know that one of the criterias of the license is to try to get people who are affected by the war on marijuana involved in the business of marijuana. So if you run a query on people that were arrested for marijuana in the past, they're going to come back with a query. So I hope that you keep that in mind, that, you know, we're supposed to give them a leg up in terms of getting involved in this business.
Yeah, unfortunately, you need a registration card. You need an agent registration card from the CCC. And so you have to run that background check and provide them with that, with the results, and they have to be cleared by the state. We specifically can't waive those state requirements. And so we're just at liberty to only hire people that can get the card. So,
Right, I'm not suggesting that you go out and hire somebody who was a mass murderer. I'm
Right,
talking
no.
about somebody that was arrested for, you know, a sale or purchasing of marijuana in the past.
Absolutely.
That this is exactly why this thing was put into play, to give them a leg up in the sense, you know? And if we basically just kind of exclude them because we're going to go in a different direction, then it's kind of counterproductive.
Counselor, just for the record, I am on both the local Bar Association committee and the state committee on reform probation and all that situation. Weekly, or maybe more than weekly, we meet with Paul and Sonny to give them the status of that, knowing who we can get to hire that may have a previous record, including felonies, believe it or not. So we're on top of that, Counselor. And we will do everything in Paul's effort to make sure that happens.
Yeah, because it kind of is counterproductive in the sense, you know, we're asking people to do the right thing, and when they apply for a position somewhere, oh, we can't hire you because you got a query. So, and also, Paul, I've known you for quite some time. Would you make a pledge that if we have local cultivators in the city, that you guys would go after the products from Brocktonians first before you buy the product elsewhere?
I will, and there's contracts we enter with different people, and it's according to their guidelines. Sometimes the local cultivators keep it for their own establishment, but yes, it'd be much easier for me to access local product because it's easier to transport, and I like local people, but whatever I'm allowed to do, first is here, and then I have to spread out as I'm allowed to move out.
Because one of the things is that when we're working on the marijuana ordinance in the city gets a percentage of the sale from the cultivation as well. So if we can encourage local cultivation, not just for retail purposes, but to cultivate for sale, it actually will be beneficial to the city as well. So if we have a lot of and I support your business, by the way, if we have a lot of these local businesses that are purchasing locally, then it encourages others to basically produce this product in the city as well and create more jobs and more opportunities for people.
I agree 100%.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilor Cardoso.
Thank you, Madam President. Hello, good evening, Mr. Marion. So you've been around a long time, and you know how important it is that we invest in our youth. And I'm looking for business owners in this community to do just that, to teach our youth how to, become business owners and how to manage their finances and how to grow wealth and all of that. How committed are you as a business owner, this is aside from the marijuana business, to helping our youth do just that?
So my brother and I annually have a day in June where we take junior high school out on a history tour. And the history tour of Brockton is basically, in order to know where you're going, you need to know where you come from. And there's a lot of history in this city, and we walk a tour about 15 different significant landmarks in the city that kids don't know about, a lot of adults don't know about, and we provide a day of activity and education, amongst other things we do in the city, like through the parade and things like that. So we're all about children and understanding that this is our community. In order to understand everybody how to grow, we all have to contribute and educate and make them aware about where we're going.
Right, because you got to pass the torch. I think there's a lot of great business owners here, but then we have a lot of youth that graduate and they leave because they don't see the opportunities here in Brockton. So I think if business owners took it upon themselves to help mentor our youth. It would help keep them in the city and help them purchase businesses here and stay in the city, because we need that. You guys are getting old. No offense, but,
Older,
you know.
I'm still the baby in the family, though.
Right. So I also wanted to say I like one of the programs that you're committed to with adults with developmental disabilities. So that's really good to see. So thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors?
Thank you, Madam President.
Counselor Nacastro.
Thank you. Good evening again, gentlemen. As we discussed earlier, the representations that were made to the CCC are all dated last year. So I just want to confirm that the company remains in good standing with both the Secretary of State and the Department of Revenue.
Yes, I believe in March, we were our certificate of good standing with the
Great.
state. Yep.
Very good. Okay, and I noticed that Mr. Marion's partner, Narek Marosian, there's a representation in the paperwork that she is going to relocate to Boston.
So she's going to help me with starting up the company, and she's going to relocate. I don't know if it's permanent or temporary. She has a family.
Okay.
But she's coming here for a substantial amount of time to make sure I understand the day-to-day operations to run it properly.
Okay. Is she involved with any other Massachusetts businesses? Is it?
No.
Okay. And also, it's a little conflicting in the materials about your hours of operation. In some places, it's 8 to 8. In other places, it's 8 to 10. But I noticed that the ZBA required 8 to 8.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, 8 to 8.
Okay.
We might have had some initial filings with the state, which we
Right.
weren't clear. One of the things that happened was, I think we may have filed some paperwork before our ordinances might have been settled. I know there was some time that we had before the council had adopted final license and zoning regulations, so we may have anticipated what those hours might have been. That might have been what happened, but we will stick with whatever the ZBA has required.
Attorney Rubin, can you just move in a little bit?
sorry.
So they can hear you.
Sorry. So we'll
Okay.
stick with whatever the boards have required, 8
But
to 8.
8 to 8?
Yep.
Okay, very good. And of course, you have been through both site plan review and the special permit at the ZBA, and you've received approvals, and they are both subject to conditions, and you will be complying with those conditions.
Yes.
Okay. And finally, I echo that hires from Brockton help everyone. Please hire from Brockton to the extent that you're able to, subject to the limitations you discussed. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Madam President.
Counselor Mendez.
Hello. My question is to security. What steps are you doing in order to secure the property and also the product and storage?
That's a short question with a long answer. Security is highly regulated by the state, of course, and so our security plan as filed was accepted by the CCC, but in short order, the property has to be secure, obviously from the outside. It can't be visible from the inside at street level. So all the marijuana facilities will have just sort of for light purposes, just sort of transoms at the top of the windows as they go around, and they'll be boarded, almost boarded up on the bottom for security purposes. Key card access and key pad access to, the interior of all the different facilities. Obviously, there's security at the entry. People have to be ID'd, and they can't get past the initial security. If they can't get past the initial security screening, they can't get into the rest of the facility. Security staff has been well-versed that they can't bring people in that aren't 21, are under the influence of any drugs or alcohol, look like they're not going to be somebody who should be in the facility. Somebody's unsafe, unsteady, not, somebody inappropriate will not be let into the facility. And then inside the facility, even the employees will have limited access to certain areas. Only those that have access to the prep room should be in the prep room. Obviously, the safe and the money will be secure. Deliveries will be handled in the same fashion. It's very, very specific. You literally have to tell the cultivator, they have to tell you what route they're actually taking. That has to be logged between the cultivation facility and your location, so that police know that they pull a vehicle over and has loads of marijuana package, that they're on a route that's back and forth. So the facility would be monitored when they're taking deliveries as well, and when they're repackaging and doing those types of things. So it's a short answer. You know, there's more to it than that, of course. We've outside video cameras, interior video cameras. It has to have, you know, ongoing tape. You have to be able to go back, and there's certain number of hours, that the number of days that the facility has to have to be able to go back and see if there's an incident. You have to be able to go back and monitor that. So there's a lot to security, but there.
And the reason that I asked that is because it's right next to a Dunkin' Donuts, and even though it's a very busy location, there's could be a lot of children just around there. So I just want to make sure that just the location itself. But I do think it's also a great location, so I agree. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? Counselor Cruz?
I'd just like to make a quick statement. First of all, thank my colleagues. The questions you've been asking have been excellent. But I do want to say that Mr. Marion and his brother have a track record in the city, and I don't worry about what they'll do with they've done a great job with high school, particularly high school boys, through their business in these last 20 years or so, and I know that they'll do a great job with it may be unofficial, but they mentor many young boys, and they've done a great job, and it's good to see Brockton people staying here and opening these businesses. So thank you for my colleagues for your questions, and I just wanted to say that I know the track record will stay intact, and we'll be proud of them. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor, and I second that. Yeah, it's good to see Brockton people in front of us, so, and you've worked hard with our youth, so thank you. Any other questions, counselors? In that case, is there anyone else here in favor? No? Okay. If not, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Is there anyone here in opposition? If so, please come forward and give your name to the clerk. Is there anyone else here in opposition? If not, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Question is on Councilor Castro.
There's just one more thing I wanted to get onto the record, and it is stated repeatedly in the materials. Mr. Marion is currently a member of the License Commission, but he is going to resign from that upon approval of the license, this license, since further guidance and maintenance of the license will be handled by the License Commission. Right? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Well, the question is on granting by a roll call vote. Councilor Bawa?
Yeah, I just wanted to make the usual motion, move to approve the license contingent upon the negotiation and execution of a valid host community agreement with a copy placed on file with the office of the city clerk.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. The question is on granting by roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
Asak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
That's 11 in the affirmative, 0 in opposition.
The license is granted.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Make a motion for reconsideration in the hopes it does not prevail.
Second.
A motion's been made and properly seconded for reconsideration in hopes it does not prevail. All those in favor of reconsideration? All those opposed? Reconsideration fails.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Clerk.
We have the petition of Green Status Corp. located at 255 North Pearl Street, Brockton. Hearing is signed for July 27, 2020 at 7 p.m.
Time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Is there anyone here in favor? If so, please come forward and give your name to the clerk. Good evening.
All set. Good evening, members of the council. My name is Patrick Sullivan. I'm an attorney with an office in Attleboro, Massachusetts, and I represent the applicant herein, Green Stratus Corporation, for their application for a license at the site at 255 North Pearl Street in Brockton. They've obtained the host community agreement with the city, of course. They started working with the city early on. They had a lot of interaction with the planning
Sorry, I
department.
don't mean to interrupt you, Attorney, but can we have people in the hall to please keep the volume down so we can hear the applicant, please? Sorry about that.
Not any problem. They had a thorough vetting with both the planning board for site plan approval and the zoning board of appeals for their special permit. They received a special permit in July of last year, I believe it was. They've met all the state requirements so far and received their PCR, and now have submitted to the city council for their licensing. With us tonight is Kinjal Patel. She is the principal of Green Stratus Corp. We've got a consultant, Chirag Patel, and the engineer, Eric Diaz from Strong Point Engineering, if there's any questions on the site or layout. But for now, Kinjal would like to open it up with a few words. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Kinjal Patel, president of Green Stratus Corp. Green Stratus Corp is proposing marijuana retail establishment at 255 North Pearl Street. I want to give a brief introduction of my background. My family is a first-generation immigrant family that has operated businesses in Brockton since 1998. I have been a former Brockton resident for over 10 years and attended Brockton High School class of 2003. I went on to receive my bachelor's in accounting and an MBA from Johnson & Wales University. Today, I have been a sole owner and operator of 2 liquor stores in Brockton for over 8 years. In 2018, I started Green Stratus Corp., which is 100% minority-owned business, a designation that is very scarce in the Massachusetts marijuana industry. Out of 227 applicants, only 2% of them are women-owned. Green Stratus is committed to operating with the highest degree of integrity, responsibility, and transparency. Green Stratus will be doing business as Summit, located at 255 North Pearl Street. We will be open from 8 to 8, 7 days a week. We will hire a staff of approximately 20 to 25 employees. Our company takes security and safety very seriously. The site is equipped with comprehensive security, which includes 24/7 surveillance cameras. No one, including employees and visitors, will be allowed to consume marijuana on site. All of our products will be lab-tested, packaged in tamper-proof and child-resistant packaging that is properly labeled with warnings, strain information, and cannabinoid profile. Customers will be limited to 1 ounce of marijuana flower or 5 grams of marijuana concentrate per transaction. Green Stratus has received its provisional license from the CCC. Currently, we are in the process of submitting architectural drawings to CCC. We plan to begin construction in August, which will take about 10 to 12 weeks. We plan to open doors at the end of 2020 if everything goes accordingly. I just want to conclude saying I believe this is my opportunity to serve the Brockton community by operating an honest and responsible retail dispensary. Thank you.
Thank you.
We can take any questions you have.
Councilors, Councilor Cardoso.
I just want to say, you go, girl.
Thank you.
I'm really impressed. So 2003 graduate of Brockton High?
Class of 2003, yeah.
Wow, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
36.
Wow, that's
Oh, yeah.
awesome. 2 liquor stores.
Yep.
Awesome. Would you be open to mentoring young ladies in the city to, help them to understand your business and how to get into business?
Yes, sure, I would love to.
We need more mentors. So that's very impressive. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President.
All set. Councilor Farwell.
Thank you, Madam President. I actually brought this with me tonight. This is one of the best documentary presentations I've seen in my years in government, and I'm not a young man, so I don't know whether Attorney Sullivan put this together or you did, but this is comprehensive, it's easy to read, and I can't thank you enough. It makes our job so much easier. So having said that, I have the standard questions that you've probably heard ad nauseum as you're sitting out in the audience. Have you reviewed the city ordinances relating to marijuana business regulations?
Yes.
Do you understand the provisions of the ordinances and acknowledge that a violation of them could be grounds for suspension or revocation of any license granted by the city council?
Yes.
Do you understand and acknowledge that any false or misleading statements during this application procedure could be grounds for revocation of any license?
Yes.
Are there any public employees in the city, appointed or elected, who have a financial or other interest in your application? And I define other as either investment, potential employment, or management role.
No.
The principal investors, I notice, are you, and I think it was 100%, am I right?
Yes.
All right, now, I did not ask this question before of other applicants, but it's only because you're listed as contributing $25,000, and I know that it's going to be a lot more than that. So other family members, I take it, are helping you with investments, or?
No, I myself am coming up with the funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I need to know. Do you have an ownership agreement with any other individuals? And if so, who were the participants?
No.
Just you? Do you currently own any other marijuana licensed business in Massachusetts or another state?
No, not yet.
Do you have a pending application for any other marijuana license in Massachusetts or another state?
No, I do not.
Is the business for which you seek a license to be operated for more than a year? In other words, do you see it as a long-term investment?
Yes.
Have you executed a host community agreement with any other municipality in Massachusetts?
No.
And if you have a conditional license by the CCC, which you do, just summarize what requirements you have to meet. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but architectural plans, inspection of the premises, the usual boilerplate language from the CCC, is that correct?
Yes.
And I think I heard you say that by the end of the year, you would like to be operating by December of 2020, presuming all of the license approvals come in?
Yes.
All right, well, I thank you again for your responses. I especially thank you. This should be a boilerplate presentation for any city council that considers marijuana licensing, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor. Counselor Monahan.
Yes, I don't really have any questions. Your presentation was just excellent. It really answered a lot of our questions, and I just want to say that they do run a business in my ward, and everything I've gone to for them, they've presented professionally, and they've been an asset, I think, to the business community in Brockton, and everything they've done is first class, and I couldn't say anything nicer about it, but they just do a great job, and I hope we just do pass this for them. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to kind of stray away from the initial question that I asked the other individuals, but I mean, it's hard not to notice that the license that we just granted to the other organization is within a rock's throw distance to your own facility here. How do you intend to make this profitable?
Hey, I'm just going to quickly introduce myself. I'm Chirag Patel, brother of Kinjal and also a consultant for her. I'm the one that actually owns a property, and so she's leasing from me. But in trying to help her be profitable, I mean, the advantageous obviously is that we are a little closer to the exit. We do have a much larger parking space, so you know, there is comparison to marijuana industry. I like to compare to liquor stores, some of the ones that she owns, and you know, there are plenty of businesses out there that are probably right next to each other. It's just a healthy competition. We imagine that as marijuana industry progresses, that there is going to be a variety of products, not just 15 to 20 items, more similarly like to a liquor store where you can carry over 1,000 SKUs. So the advantageous is that we carry different products while the other one carries different. Pricing is different, things of that nature. So it'll be a competition, but I think it'll be a healthy one.
Because one of the issues that I want to bring to, at least to my colleagues on this body here, is that we only have 6 licenses for the entire city. So I wouldn't want to, honestly, to waste a license. Because if you put the businesses all in the same area, there's a very good chance that they wouldn't succeed as well as they should. and we're relying on these businesses to provide taxation to the city to help the city out. That's the reason why I'm bringing that up in terms of your location, in the sense where you're locating basically within a rock's throw distance of the other one, that there's a chance of success and succeeding. So that's the reason why I'm bringing that up. Also, I did ask the questions earlier in terms of job creation. How many positions do you foresee creating out of your business?
That's a good question. I actually helped her in trying to get support, and I think this was one of the questions that came up, which is the positive impact plan, as well as trying to give back to the community. So not just that, but there's also a diversity plan. So she plans on hiring 20 to 25 employees. In the diversity plan, we have a percentage goal that we have in mind for the first year, which is around 30% diversity. And it might seem like a small percentage, but that percentage kind of increases over the course of year 1, 2, and 3. And these are benchmarks that the CCC will be able to kind of vet us through and check on. So out of those diversities, we also have a goal for Brockton preference residents as well. So on that, there's a similar percentage that you'll see. It's a 30, year 2, 50, year 3, 70% Brockton residents. So we're here to serve the community. My sister and local businesses, we try to hire local as we can, and we will continue to do so for this one.
I know Councilor Cardoza has been asking these businesses in terms of supporting the youth in the community, and I know that you cannot use marijuana funds to do anything with children, because we ran into one of those issues earlier when we were doing something here at City Hall. But there's plenty of other adult organizations that you guys can kind of approach and help in our community in this sense. So I know it's by law you're not supposed to do anything with children under the age of 18, but at the same time there's plenty of adult organizations in this community that could benefit a great deal from help. Thank you.
Sure.
And good luck with your business.
And just to even comment on that, as far as we understand, the limitation on the age and the age group is more for marketing reasons. There is no restrictions on nonprofit organizations. That's strictly purview of the organization we work with. So the only, obstacle there is whether the nonprofit organization is federally funded. And if they are, then they are not or discouraged to take any money from a marijuana retailer just because we are not federally funded. So we actually have in our positive impact plan, we are working with Brockton Area Preventative Collaborative, just a long name, and then also the Champion Plan, which is also based area in Brockton, as well as PAC, P-A-C-C, Jamal Gooding runs that association. So these target audiences for these organizations can be under 18, and necessarily, that's up to the nonprofit what they do with the monetary donations. But we extend our hand further than that by volunteering, volunteering our education around that, what's do's and don'ts, not to consume and drive, things of that nature, and also hand out educational programs for the kids, similar to DARE program. That's something we're trying to create. And the partnership with PAC is similar to, minorities and individuals that have been incarcerated by drugs that can't find a job out there. So our mission is to kind of help them in job training, to train them in the cannabis industry, whether they work for us or not. It's up to their decision, but it's our duty to just make sure that they have the job training available, that if they were out to seek a cannabis position, that they would be able to do so.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam.
Can I just say something quick? Just quick.
Sure, go ahead.
So, thank you, Madam President. So I'm glad you're working with PAC. They do really good work. And just so you know, empowering our youth doesn't have to be monetary, okay? So when I spoke to mentorship, there's a lot that you can do to empower and educate that doesn't necessarily mean, money-wise. So thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Any other councilors? Any other questions? Councilor Mendez.
Hello, thank you so much for your presentation tonight. That was very good and very informative. So my question, I drove around the building, I was a little bit confused. Is the unit 259, is it attached with a different, is it all going to be the retail marijuana, or is it separate? Sorry.
No, that's fine. So the units that are on there, it's 255, and there's two units next to it. There's 250, 251, and 259. The 251 currently is occupied by an office of my own, and then there's 2 units, 255 and 259, which will combine into one, which one then will just identify as 255. So it's a 3,000 square foot retail space in there, and then about 1,000 square foot of office space in there currently.
Okay, so both are going to be combined, it's going to be all the, okay, that, yes.
No, so it's going to remain as 1,000 square feet of just private office space, and then 3,000 square feet is going to be the retail dispensary.
Okay, I was just concerned there was going to be something else in there, so, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Ianary, and then followed by Nacastro.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to clear my mind on something. So all of that property has now been purchased by you, am I correct? What was Wainwright's property all belongs to you, right? And she's the tenant, correct? There's one thing that bothers me and has always bothered me, and it needs to go away. We don't need the sign in front of your building that says Foxy Lady. Seriously. I mean, it's not, I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to Mr. Caswell about that or whatever the agreement was that he had with the Wainwrights. I'm sure he had an agreement. I know it's a beautiful sign, it's stone, it's granite, it's tremendous. But it has to go away from that, it really does. I mean, it doesn't look appropriate to me. I mean, that's my own personal opinion, but, you know, it's not my neck of the woods, but still, that'd be one thing I'd be asking, that it has to go away. I mean, obviously, there was an agreement, and whatever it was, that's gone.
And that's obviously in our intention as well, but however, when we purchase a property, there is an easement, a signed easement that's for the abutting neighbor, and that's something that we can't have removed or touched. It's just part of the building.
Because he owns the easement, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then there's a lot of that in the city of Brockton, trust me. So, yeah, that's how it was always done some years ago. But it's just too bad that that's there, because I've heard people even mention that if that's the location, why doesn't that sign go away? So it was not so much an agreement with the Wainwrights as Frank knew what he was doing when he sold the property, no doubt. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor Nacastro.
Thank you. Good evening. I just want to make sure, since the representations in your book were to the Cannabis Commission and were from 2019, your corporation is still in good standing with both the Secretary of State and with the Department of Revenue?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. And also, I want to confirm that your hours are going to be 8 a.m. until 8 p.m.?
Yes.
7 days a week? Okay. And finally, there were conditions to your site plan review approval and your special permit from the ZBA, and you will comply with all of them?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Good luck. Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
President.
Counselor. Any other counselors have any questions? I would just like to congratulate you on being woman-owned businesses. We need more of them. And I think, you know, we've had a few applicants that have, that are women-owned businesses, and I'm very proud to see women putting themselves out there. So, and this is an interesting industry, so we're very proud to see that. Is there anyone else here in favor? If not, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Is there anyone here in opposition? If so, please come forward and give your name to the clerk. Is there anyone else here in opposition? If not, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Question is on granting by a roll call vote. Mr. Councilor Fawa?
I'm tempted to say ditto, but I'll, for the record, say a motion to grant the license contingent upon the negotiation and execution of a valid host community agreement with a copy of the agreement placed on file with the office of the city clerk.
Second.
A motion's been made and properly seconded. The question is on granting by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please read the roll.
Asak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Cruz? Yes. Ianary?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nacastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
That's 11 in the affirmative, 0 voting in opposition.
I move
Congratulations.
reconsideration in the hope that it does not prevail.
Second.
A motion's been made for reconsideration in hopes does not prevail, and it has been properly seconded. All those in favor of reconsideration? All those opposed? Motion fails. The license is granted. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Can we have the podium wiped down, please? What? Thank you. Mr. Clerk, number 5.
We have the petition of Nature's Embrace, Inc., located at 747 Center Street, Brockton, hearing assigned for July 27, 2020, at 7 p.m.
Time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Is there anyone here in favor? If so, please come forward and give your name to the clerk.
Good evening, City Council. Again, my name's Patrick Sullivan. I'm an attorney with offices in Attleboro at 89 North Main Street, and I represent the applicant herein, Nature's Embrace, for their application for a marijuana retail license from your council at the location at 747 Center Street. Again, here the applicant received the host community agreement from the city early on. They worked diligently with the planning and the zoning board. In this case, they made a lot of accommodations, I believe, in working with the planning department and the zoning board to make sure that this site was properly sited in terms of traffic, parking, and making sure that those boards were satisfied. I think they did a great job working out this site location and making sure it was beneficial to the city. They've complied with everything that the state has required, including obtaining their PCR already, and they've submitted a complete application to your board. With us tonight is Joe Feeney. He is the principal of Nature's Embrace, and he's going to start out with some words.
Thank you. My name's Joe Feeney. I'm the CEO of Nature's Embrace. I'm a recently retired deputy fire chief from a neighboring town of Whitman. I grew up in Brockton. I grew up on Ardsley Circle in the Brookfield neighborhood. Went to Spelman and later on to Mass Maritime. I was a merchant seaman for years, several years, and got on the fire department. Spent the last 20 years of my career as deputy chief. I also work in the insurance field as a commercial inspector. And in that job, I've had to inspect these very businesses as they were before they opened and after they opened for their coverage. Our proposal is to open a recreational marijuana shop in the former Webster Bank building at 747 Center Street. This place has been vacant for years, and we hope to make a go of that corner. We have a good management team, consultants that have a background in retail, technology, safety, security. And I'm welcome to any questions if you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Feeney. Councilors? Councilor Fowler?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Feeney. And by the way, Attorney Sullivan, I can tell your fingerprints may be on the other presentation from this group because it was also superb. I really appreciate it. Mr. Feeney, have you reviewed the city ordinances relating to marijuana business regulations?
Yes, we have.
Do you understand the provisions of the ordinances and acknowledge that a violation of them could be grounds for suspension or revocation of any license granted by the city council?
Yes.
Do you understand and acknowledge that any false or misleading statements during this application procedure could be grounds for revocation of any license?
Yes.
Are there any public employees in the city, appointed or elected, who have a financial or other interest in your application, other defined as either an investment, potential employment, or management role?
No.
Principal investors in the company, I noticed that you are listed and in terms of financial contributions, $300,000, no others?
Robert Murphy.
Robert
He's
Murphy?
also a partner, yes.
Okay.
Or an investor.
And comparable investment, is that?
Yeah, probably more.
Okay, and what town, I don't need his street address, what town is he from?
He's originally from Brockton, but he's from Hyannis.
I'm sorry, from where?
Hyannis.
Oh, thank you. All right. Do you have an ownership agreement with any other individuals? And if so, who would those participants in the agreement be in their respective roles?
None.
Have you chosen a day-to-day manager of the business yet? Would it be you, someone else, or?
I'd be part of it, but no one yet. We haven't hired staff yet.
Okay. Do you currently own any other marijuana licensed business in Massachusetts or another state?
No.
Do you have a pending application for any other marijuana license in Massachusetts or another state?
No.
Is the business for which you seek a license to be operated for more than 1 year? Do you see this as a long-term investment?
Yes.
Have you executed any host community agreements with another municipality in Massachusetts?
No.
If you have a conditional license, which you do, granted by the CCC, what further requirements must you meet for a full license approval? And if it's the usual architectural approvals and
Yeah, it's just the
boilerplate
city.
language from the CCC, I do understand.
Right, it's just at the city level now.
And what date would you expect to begin operations once you have all state and local approvals?
Hopefully in December
December.
of 2020.
Could be a very Merry Christmas for a lot of people. Well, thank you very much for the quality of your presentation and for your responses this evening. Thank you, Madam President.
Counselor Cardoso.
Good evening, Mr.
Hi.
Feeney. So I have the same questions for you as everybody else, as far as security, what are your plans around that? And then the community impact, what programs are you looking to kind of support to help with the positive impact in the city?
Well, we'd have the security system that's pretty much standard in the business. A lot of video and an on-site security staff. As far as the community, we'd definitely look at appropriate charities when the time comes.
And hopefully hire folks from the city of Brockton, as my colleagues
Sure.
have.
We want it to reflect, our staff would reflect the population of the city.
Embrace diversity and all of this. A lot of this is in your packets, but it's for the purpose of the public.
Right.
That's why I'm trying to push folks to really, speak to the public, because these are questions that they have. They're not really super interested in all the logistics. They want to know what you bring to Brockton and, what are you trying to do to help with the betterment of our city.
Okay, this is Jemin Patel. He's a consultant on the project as well.
Right.
Yeah, so to answer a lot of those questions, at least 50% of the workforce will be Brockton residents or minorities. Also, we have a program to make donations and also assist a lot of people who may had like minor drug offenses, and because of that, they're not able to get into the industry. So there are a lot of programs where they can sort of get those off their records. So this way it helps them come into the industry. So we'll be essentially supporting those programs too.
Okay, thank you. And then as far as complaints, if you do get complaints in that area, that's a tight area there, and are you, what are your plans to address some of those complaints around traffic or noise or, any of those that our constituents may have?
One of the comments I wanted to lead off and had in the introduction was the applicant was very cognizant of this site and did think it was suitable for their business, but they, both with the planning board, the planning department, and the zoning board of appeals, they work with them thoroughly. We were before each board probably on several occasions, and we're very cognizant of concerns about traffic and sighting, and we made some adjustments to the site. So up front, they were very cognizant of that. I'd let Joe speak to management procedures about intaking complaints, but they want this to be a functioning site. Eric Diaz, the site engineer here, I think did a terrific job understanding that those were concerns, and the fact that they, with those concerns expressed by the public in those forums, were able to obtain the site plan approval and a special permit, I think is a testament to the work that they did to make sure that those concerns would be addressed. So I think they are addressed up front, but Joe, if you want to just...
But there's always things that you can't anticipate.
Absolutely.
So just if issues do arise, how you would handle those.
So do we address that?
I think we're just policy
Oh,
and procedure.
yeah, there'll be a traffic flow from entering and exiting the parking lot. That'll be, managed on site. And, because I know there were concerns with that corner. It's not the widest intersection in the city, but it does get a lot of traffic from both, Whitman, Abington, and coming from the north as well.
So once you have your manager in place, that would be the person, the go-to person that would kind of help with some of those
Correct.
issues. Okay, thank you very much. You can,
There's also, there will be a community-oriented employee. So they want to make sure that our positive impact plan that we submitted to the CCC, we're adhering to all of our goals.
Okay.
And if there are any customer complaints, they will also be, trying to take care of those too.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. All set, Counselor?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Sorry.
Counselor Thompson?
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, gentlemen. I just have really a comment. This proposed marijuana shop will be in my ward, Ward 5. And ever since I sat on the zoning board, Mr. Patel and Attorney Sullivan, we've worked together to try to make this location a good location for your shop. Speaking to the traffic issues, we did address some of those by moving the entrance and exit off to North Quincy. I know you've always been responsive to my questions regarding this location. I feel like that it will be an asset to that area. As you know, the Webster Bank has been unoccupied for a few years now. We'd really like to get that corner up, clean, and operating as a commercial business like it's always intended to. So I do not fear that you would be responsive to the community, and we look forward to, if this matter passes, we look forward to you joining the east side of Brockton, and I hope to work with you in the future about being a part of the ward, as we try to do with a lot of our businesses. Not only are you providing a service, but really trying to provide community, not just a product, but also who you are and be a part of our ward. So we look forward to that, and thank you for appearing tonight, gentlemen. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Nicastro?
Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen. And it is a very well-done presentation. Thank you. My first question is, I went over your incorporation documents. You're missing your 2020 annual report, but you'll take care of that, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
Okay. Are you in good standing with the Department of Revenue?
Yes.
Okay. And I noticed the incorporation papers, the articles of organization. David Clifford is everything. He's all of the officers. And then he's a board of directors member, and then he's not anything. And I noticed he wasn't among the names of the principals of the business.
Well, he was involved in a couple other businesses, and he didn't have the time to stick with this completely.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And also, Attorney Sullivan, I've never seen language in articles of organization in which board of director members have no liability. Talk to me about that.
I did not handle the incorporation for the entity, but so I don't know exactly where you'd be referencing in the articles of organization, but as a general principle of corporate governance, the board members in their duties, as long as they don't act with gross negligence, if that's the standard, I believe it's even beyond that, they wouldn't have any personal liability for any of their acts in pursuance of the corporate purpose.
Sure, there's a whole page here all about it, and I don't usually see that in articles of orgs.
Yeah, oftentimes you see appendix to the articles of organization. I'm assuming that's what you're looking at, and attorneys will file those often. I'm not sure when the entity was established, but without seeing it, again, I didn't particularly file that, so I'd be happy to follow up with an answer to any question, but I would say it is common practice that you would see those addendums to the articles of organization, and they would cover a topic like that, which would be pretty typical.
Okay. And I noticed somewhere in here it talks about possibly a cultivation license will be sought?
I don't think at this...
So initially they were considering it, but at this time it's not a cultivation, just a retail. So.
Okay. Okay. And what about a revised timeline? When do you think?
Hopefully December.
You think December? Okay. That's great. And there's a statement in here that this business will revitalize Center Street. How are you going to do that?
We'll take occupancy in a otherwise vacant building.
Okay.
Yeah.
And bring it back to life. Okay, and you, as you know, you have received your site plan approval and your special permit. And at least one of them talks about erecting a fence and maybe closing access. We touched on that earlier. You will comply with all those conditions, right?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Good luck to you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions, counselors? Is there anyone else here in favor? If not, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Is there anyone here in opposition? If so, please come forward and give your name to the clerk. Is there anyone else here in opposition? If not, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Counselor Farwell?
Motion to grant a license contingent upon the negotiation and execution of a valid host community agreement.
Second.
A copy filed with the Office of the City Clerk.
Second.
A motion's been made and properly seconded. The question is on granting by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
Asak?
Yes.
Cardozo?
Yes.
Cruz? Ianieri?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Mendez?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
That's 11 in the affirmative, 0 in opposition.
The license is granted. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I move reconsideration in the hope that it does not prevail.
Second.
A motion's been made and properly seconded for reconsideration in hopes it does not prevail. All those in favor of reconsideration? All those opposed? Reconsideration failed.
Thank you.
Thank you, counselors. Counselor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I'm actually disgusted by what took place here tonight. And I'm going to say this, and I wanted to vote against every single one of these applications, but I felt that by doing so, it would be punishing people who are deservingly of these applications. We granted 5 applications tonight, 4 to white candidates and 1 to a female candidate that's not even from Brockton. Every single one of the licenses that we granted tonight was incomplete. Every single one of them. The most important piece of documentation that is required for this body to sit here and provide a license to is the community host agreement, which every single one of these individuals do not have a valid community host agreement. But we've made contingencies. We passed the licenses contingent to this, with this in mind, later on, if you can provide it, if you can't provide it. But guess what? We had one applicant that actually had a valid license as far as this body is concerned. She had a current community host agreement signed by me. She had an up-to-date standing agreement with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But guess what we did? We chose to postpone that. But you know what else we did? She's the only African-American black female applicant that applied to this body for a license. And we send a beautiful message to the community that while you're black in this community, do not apply to anything that the city does. And I find it somewhat offensive to a point where we could have done exact the same thing that we did to every single applicant that came in front of us tonight, and we chose not to do that. This young lady is sitting out in the audience. She has no idea what's missing out of her application because no one will tell her what's missing out of her application. She has a valid community host agreement, a valid application with the CCC, and yet this body or this building chooses not to provide her with the information, and then we're going to continue to continue to play the games that we normally play in this city. And I'm going to tell you guys something. Time may have passed in this city, but very little has changed in the mentality of this city. Thank you, Madam President.
Madam President?
Yes.
Madam President.
Counselor Farwell had already.
Madam President, I'm taking off my mask to respond to this. and I will choose my words carefully, although I'm not a happy camper, to suggest that anything that went on here tonight was related to someone's race, someone's culture, someone's background is absolutely absurd and inappropriate. First and foremost, the young lady that was just referenced had a defective application, no financial information, no information about site review, no information about the Zoning Board of Appeals action. I went to her attorney and I asked him, we don't want to risk having her application turned down, and we don't want to unreasonably delay acting upon her application. Would you consult with her and ask if she would agree to have us postpone this until July 27th? I didn't flunk math. That's 11 days from now. She's still at the top of the list. She'll be the first one considered on the 27th because we have a rolling plan. When we passed the marijuana business regulation ordinances, everyone had access to them. Everyone knew about it. We had multiple meeting after meeting after meeting. They were very well attended, I might add. There is nothing that would have prevented anyone who was white, black, brown, Asian, Alaskan, Native Indian, lesbian, transgendered, gay, bisexual, from putting together an application, finding a location in this city, and putting an application for a license in before this body. You did not even have to have Cannabis Control Commission licensure in order to do so. It's not my problem to somehow tell people this is what you need to do. And in fact, I even had a conversation with our legislative counsel today who cautioned me against doing that. You may not help a particular applicant. They have to read the ordinance, they have to go through the checklist, they have to determine what's necessary to be submitted. We could not sit down with that person and point out, this is what you have to do, A, B, C, D, E. If you remember, that was one of the allegations in the Lopes case, that somehow applicants got a little extra help with how to apply, or how to word their resume, or do something else. So you can criticize me and any of my colleagues here all you want. I know all of you. I've known a lot of you way before I came back to this council. We have our differences, which I think are healthy. But to suggest that anyone that I know here in this body would do anything negative towards an applicant because of insensitivity, because of some dislike, because of some bias against a person of color is absolutely outrageous. And Councilor Rodriguez, you're still my friend. I'll still help you in any way I can, but you're way off base on this one. You're way off base. Because I know every one of these people here, every one of them, and they wouldn't do that. We bent over backwards to help that young lady so she wouldn't be embarrassed tonight by questions, and so that she could have her license application heard in a timely manner on July 27th. That was it. Nothing more. I thank my colleagues for indulging me with these remarks.
Councilor Cardoso.
With all due respect, Win, a level playing field does not exist when it comes to minorities, period. And there's a lot of inequities that we have to deal with that it just is bigger than what we're doing here. It was an embarrassment to listen to any of the cases tonight if we didn't have this particular candidate, all of the information that we needed for her. We could have postponed all of them to the 27th. Like you said, that's 11 days from now. Nobody's going to go open up their pot shops tomorrow, and it would have been a better, in this climate, would have served us better to hear all of them on the 27th. I wanted to walk out of here. I was so embarrassed. So that's my opinion. But you can't, the level playing field does not exist. There's a lot of work for it to exist. So no matter what you say about us not supporting this particular person and not helping her or guiding her, maybe that's not our job, but the inequities already exist, and that's a bigger conversation. Thank you, Madam President.
Madam President, if I could just respond. I agree with you. I'm only focusing on this one particular issue tonight. There isn't a level playing field. I'll be the first one to admit that. and I think we have a lot of work to do. Those of us who are older, those of you who are younger. But on this particular narrow issue of that applicant and why I made the motion that I did and why I contacted her attorney, and I'm going to email him a copy of the ordinance tomorrow so he'll have it, that's what I'm talking about. There was absolutely nothing racially done this evening regarding that narrow issue. As for the rest of society, of course we've got problems. My God, we've seen them on national television. But I don't believe I sit here with a group of racists tonight because we happen to postpone something until the 27th of July.
Okay, I'm just Counselor Ianieri and then Counselor Ianieri.
Thank you, Madam President. And I have to stand by my colleague, City Councilor at Large, Councilor Farwell, former mayor of the city, former school committee member I sat with for a good many years, because by what I'm hearing, almost sounds like what Wynn and I used to hear when we used to have difficulties hiring people to be teachers in the school system because we weren't doing it right some 30 years ago. And I know Wynn would know what I'm talking about. And how many times when we wanted to put the right people and all the correct people in a classroom, but we couldn't because nobody could present us with the qualified people. It didn't matter what color code or creed it was. We tried to do whatever we could, but, and again, we would always have that difficulty. I have to tell you, what I've seen in the last few months, and what I've even been seeing in the last few weeks in this city, is just what I saw when I was a young boy in the 60s, and when, you know what I'm talking about, it was called then desegregation. I mean, a separation of black and white. But this is what it's supposed to be, and I don't see where this was ever that meant to be for this evening, to be truthful with you. You know, I think you needed a good lump sum of cash to come up with to even make an application. If you don't have that, then how the hell do you go forward? I mean, we didn't do anything wrong. And if that's what we're going to start doing now at every meeting is what's right from wrong and the color of this, well, I'll tell you, you're gonna have yourselves a big ball game in this city because city people aren't going to put up with it. And they're not putting up with it now. It's getting too far out of fetch. It really, really is. You can take whatever I say, whatever way you want to circle it, that's fine. I mean, I've been involved in this city for so many years that it's just getting to be it's not what it used to be, and we all know that. But I don't think, and I agree with Councilor Fowle, nothing was done here in racist. I don't care who stood in front of me, as long as they had the right information, and as long as they were to be presented in the correct way, I wouldn't have seen any problem with what we've done here this evening. To be truthful with you, I don't even know how that particular gal even got through zoning board to want to be located on Pleasant Street. And I have all intentions of voting against it. We circled around the ordinance when it went to zoning, but it was still given. How the heck did that happen? How? It doesn't belong there, period. Nothing to do with the client. Nothing to do with the applicant, I should say. She's going to have a tough time making a business there because that's not the right spot. It's never going to be the right spot.
Counselor, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I know we've finished our hearings. And
I know we did, and I appreciate it, but still, I realize that, you know, there's heat in the city, there's heat in the moment, there's heat in this country right now for things that are happening that shouldn't be happening, and I take offense to a lot that's been said too, even from my counselor. Councilor Rodriguez, I think it's a little bit out of fetch, and I didn't appreciate even Councilor Cardozo's comments either. So, thank you, Madam President.
Okay. I know Councilor Rodriguez, you want to speak again, but Councilor Nicastro hasn't spoken.
I do. All I'm saying
It's not our job, Moses, to teach them.
I know it's not our job.
Send them the book.
All I'm saying is that exemptions were made tonight for the other applicants that happen to be of a certain race. We are trying to level the playing field, and as Councilor Ianieri is saying that the city folks aren't going to put up with this, I hate to disappoint them because there's a lot of us city folks that are tired of this as well. And the thing is, when you make an exception to certain individuals and you're not willing to make it across the board, this is how people start having problems in the community. We could have very well have done the same exact thing to this young lady. We're going to pass it contingents to this, let her go through the process. If she doesn't have what it takes, then don't do it. But as far as, let me ask you something. What happens if Mayor Sullivan says, I'm not signing the community host agreements? We go back to ground zero and start this thing all over again? Because that's exactly what could happen. But this young lady had a valid community host agreement signed by the city. It was signed because the other host agreements were done behind closed doors that no one knew anything about. That's why we opened this thing up to give these individuals an opportunity to get a community host agreement. But now all of a sudden it seems like that became invalid in a way, and we're not willing to work with the individuals that are actually given that opportunity. She's sitting right there on the hallway saying, I have no idea what's going on with my application because nobody's telling me anything. Then all of a sudden you hear, well, the lawyers know this, the lawyers know that. Why could we not pass that contingent to what we did with everybody else? That's what I'm questioning. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Castro.
Thank you. I take very seriously that Legal Greens is an economic empowerment candidate. I've read the state law, I've read the regulations, all in that, and I support economic empowerment candidates. But I felt with the things that were missing from her application, and I read all the applications. It took me about 12 hours. I felt I couldn't have voted for it, and I didn't want to not vote for it. And that's why I was pleased when a motion was made to postpone it 2 weeks, and reach out was made to an attorney to have that amended so that what comes in front of us in 2 weeks is valid and complete. And that's why I voted for the 2-week postponement. Thank you.
Okay. All set, councilors?
Yep.
Councilor Cruz, you haven't spoken yet.
Actually, I'm just getting back to some local things, not world-shattering things. But next Thursday night, I will be hosting a meeting at the Hancock School at 7 o'clock, a neighborhood meeting with the developers, or proposed developers of the Braymore Nursing Home apartment complex. Social distancing will be strictly observed and masks are imperative. 7 o'clock, and again, hopefully all of you councilors will have a vote on this rezoning, so if you can be there, I think the neighbors would appreciate it, and we'll try and hash out the items, so, thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors that need special recognition? No, with no further business before us this evening, this meeting's adjourned.